Welcome to the Two Beasts podcast, where best friends Chris and Ollie try and figure out this complicated thing we call life. We hope you enjoy. There it is. Told you it was coming.
It's the theme song, man.
Yeah, I told you it was coming. That's
back.
us. That's us live.
To quote CJ, oh shit, here we go again.
Oh shit, here we go again. Hello, it's a new week. We're back on the Two Beasts podcast.
We're back.
Right?
We're back. Everyone all right? We all doing okay?
We're doing all right.
We're doing great, man.
Fuck knows when this episode is going to come out because we've got loads of exciting guests in the pipeline. So it might be that you've had loads of those and that this hasn't come out for like 6 months since we recorded it. I don't know. It's exciting.
We're moving on up. We're doing well.
Oh, it's going all right.
Things are going well.
Episode 7 released when we're filming this, by the way. Episode 7 released about 35 minutes ago with Dr. Esther Fox. So if you haven't listened to that podcast, you might consider, after this one, of course, going back and listening to that one, especially if you've got knee pain, back pain,
Any kind
ass
of pain,
pain.
really. Ass pain?
Yeah, sciatica and all that.
Oh, right, yeah, that kind. Yeah.
Not taking a piss, mate.
Yeah, not the other kind.
No.
Yeah, definitely go and check that one out because that had some genuinely useful information that I think people would enjoy, especially if they've got those kind of aches and pains and God knows what else.
I think the main takeaway for that for me was that posture and alignment's all bullshit.
Yeah,
That was a shock.
yeah. I mean, it kind of makes sense, though, doesn't it, in some regard, because everyone's very different, and I think if you're just going to shove people down a funnel and be like, right, your posture has to be X, Y, and Z. It's kind of a bit weird. It goes against all the other, forms of training, and what works for one person doesn't necessarily work for another person. And it would make sense that posture and alignment would be the same thing, because I know it as a climber, I'm slightly hunched over because of, my dominating back muscles and stuff, compared to my underpowered chest. That makes you hunched over, but it doesn't stop me from doing any...
Fucking nearly kicked the water over there on the pod.
Christ.
That was nearly an absolute crisis.
It almost became a water park in this podcast studio. That would have been fun. And the ducks all floating around. So it's basically... Anyway. Ducks, water, make that correlation.
Yeah, nice, yeah. So, okay.
Yeah, so it's essentially like making sure that just because you've got a certain way of standing, obviously, like she said, if you're superly hunched over or anything like that, that's when it gets bad. But I think tiny, a few degrees out of alignment is not, is not the be all and end all. I think if it's not causing you an injury or it's not, going to send you to the point where your shoulders are going to cave in and you can't then pick anything up or use them, then you're probably all right,
Confrontation time.
Confrontation time?
Dun. It's a new series
segment
feature now. It's confrontation time. What on earth is this? What is it?
That is what happens when you go on a French road trip and the French like pink toilet roll. That's all they had.
So yeah,
that's literally all they had.
I'm glad you said.
The little French town I stayed in, that was all they had. Pink toilet roll.
For those listening only and not watching the video, this is pink toilet roll.
Correct. Yeah. It was the only option I had.
How are you supposed to tell if you've got a poorly body?
Well,
surely that's the point of white toilet paper, is the fact that you can just make sure that everything looks right.
Yeah, but you can still see red.
I just don't know why it's got to be this colour.
What, are you expecting a poorly body?
No, but I just don't like, it's not us, is it?
No, it's not us, you're right. I apologise.
And now everything's in the house is pink.
Well, luckily, yesterday I went out and bought some white stuff, so hopefully that should pipe you down a bit.
That's what I think of your toilet roll.
Yeah, good one. Very mature.
Anyway, you're selling the van. What a waste of time that was.
Selling the van.
What's the point?
Selling the van. Oh, what a roller coaster this has been.
For God's sake.
Yeah, so obviously the listeners out there, probably at this point, would have listened to episode 2, which is where I had my whole fiasco in the past few months about this van. And after my road trip, I kind of came to a bit of an epiphany, which was that I'm not a fan of vans. They're great for what they are, and I think if you like that lifestyle and you like the whole thing of being out in nature and you want to live in your van and you want to live off grid, and I think to actually live in as your genuine, you don't have a home, you have a big van and you live in a van, that makes sense. It also makes sense, so that's one area. It also makes sense if you're not particularly into cars and you don't like driving at all because you don't care what you drive, so you'll drive a van. Or you have it and you use it every single weekend. So you go away with your missus or your family or whatever every weekend. Therefore, you get something out of it. Otherwise, given, like I said in episode 2, how expensive they are now, it's a lot of money just sat on the drive. I mean, even that thing, being like 10 to 12k. It's a lot of money sat on the drive. So, for me, I find them incredibly unreliable. Every time I get in it, I think it's going to break. I got to drive up to Swansea in about 2 hours, and I think I could literally be ringing the AA at any point. So that doesn't exactly fill me with confidence, especially when you drive quite a lot like I do for a living. And yeah, I'm not a fan. I'm not a fan. Again, they work very well if you live off grid. So if you can drive around, you can stay in a lay-by and all that sort of stuff, that makes sense, right? But in this country in particular, it's not really set up very well for it. There's not really many lay-bys. Most places nowadays you get kicked out from. Nobody really likes you. You get shit on. Like,
Are you sure that's to do with the van, or you think that's just you as a person?
could be me. Fuck knows.
Because you are a bit of a dickhead.
Yeah, I mean, it makes sense. Yeah, totally. Yeah, they could be just being like, this is that kid from that podcast. Fuck off, But no, mostly, this country just isn't set up for it. Whereas when I was in France, they have their, like, what our service stations would be, are just like big car parks, but that are designed for that. So they have toilets, they have, big areas where you can cook stuff, you can do like loads of stuff in them. So it's actually set up for that, whereas in this country it doesn't really work as well. So
yeah, but equally that kind of pisses me off because the whole point of the van is that you can go off and just be on your own and do your own thing. And if you've got to go to a campsite where there's a load of other people, that's just a load of bollocks. You may as well have a tent.
Correct. And that is exactly the conclusion I came to. And I thought also, human beings built things with bricks and mortar for a reason. So why don't I use them? Using a very popular app that everyone uses to book certain places around the world that aren't hotels.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Flair G&D.
That's the one, man. That's the one.
Yeah.
It rhymes with Flair G&D.
There you go.
Yeah. That actually sounds better. You should pitch that to him.
No, because it doesn't make any fucking sense.
It doesn't, but it sounds better.
Yeah.
Anyway, but yeah, so I was like, well, when those things are, only 20 quid extra on top of what you pay for a campsite, you're like, and I like driving. So I like driving a nice car, and a van just doesn't cut it. So I'm selling the van.
So you like driving a nice car, yet the car you want to get is just your old Honda Civic.
Literally the old car I had, but in red. Yeah. For a minute.
So it's a more risky colour.
Yeah.
And it's the same car that you had.
Yeah. But it's way more reliable. It's way cheaper, and it's more fun to drive.
It's like I don't like it.
I know you don't.
Don't like the Honda Civics.
Not everyone has to like things that everyone else likes.
It feels to me like the Honda Civic feels like something that 17-year-olds picking up a 15-year-old taking McDonald's. A bit like a glorified Corsa. I think you're above it.
All right.
I think you're better than it. Okay. I think you get yourself a nice.
If you say Volvo.
Car. No, I'm not saying Volvo. I got Volvo, but mostly just because
Volvo is an old man's car. If anyone out there is wondering about getting a Volvo,
tax-free, right? Yeah. 70 mpg. Blessed. But and I don't look like a kid.
That's fine. People can like other things. Just because one person likes one thing doesn't mean the other person has to like another thing.
I know. It's just going to be sad to see you taking a step backwards.
Yeah, well, at least my finance is going to be better.
Yeah. Your finance would be better if you just stayed on top of your admin and paid your ULEZ charges. So
that is true. Which is the other good thing about the Honda Civic.
Well, I think this is all
if I get the Honda back and I go to London, I don't have to pay the ULEZ charge. Because that's why it was better when I had it before.
Yeah, but there's you can get loads of cars that don't have to pay the ULEZ charge, mate.
But this is what it is.
You'd have to get a shit one.
It is what it is. It's not shit.
I'm going to put a banana up the exhaust pipe.
Beauty is in the eye of the beholder, as they say. So.
Oh, why is this Honda Civic so unreliable? It keeps breaking down. I'm going to rubbing oil off my hands. Don't know, mate.
So you're going to sabotage me?
Yeah, I'm going to sabotage it.
Right, good.
Yeah. Right off, mate.
Good friend. Right here. He has been a loyal friend.
I'm a good friend. I don't want you driving something that's going to make you look like a weapon.
Oh, thanks.
I think it's all part of a bigger realisation, the van thing. I think it's more to it than just the fact that you like driving cars. Because actually, I think the fact that you like driving cars and you're into motors is actually one of your biggest vices. I think if you're a multi-millionaire, then you can afford to play around with cars a bit. But I think most people that get involved in, like quote unquote motorheads, they're basically just trapped. It's just a trap. It's one of the many traps that we can fall into to keep us poor, because you don't end up putting money into new businesses and new ideas. You end up just chucking it into a car that nobody really gives a fuck about. I don't care when I hear you revving up the street. I just think it sounds shit and it annoys me, frankly. And I'm pretty much the same demographic as you, 26, 27 years of age. Like I should be the young man that should be impressed by that sort of thing. It just makes me think you've got a tiny cock. But what my point is...
That, right there, ladies and gentlemen, would be a perfect place to cut that short. That is a TikTok short if ever I've seen one.
Yeah, but I haven't got a nip slip this time, so the car heads can't get upset with me like they did last time.
Oh, yeah.
They'll have to bully me for something else.
Is that what happened?
They'll have to call me man bun.
Yeah, man bun. Yeah, they didn't like the old nip slip.
But it is part of the old... I think it's part of a bigger realisation, because you kind of you were aware of that the other day. You were like, I've got this fucking motorbike, like I'll sell that if I need to. I've got this van that's a waste of time, I'll sell that if I need to. I get a cheap, reliable car. I'm not saying you should get a cheap, reliable car like, we should all drive, like, slum it around in 1.2.
No, not at all.
I definitely want a nice car.
Yeah.
Like, I paid more than I probably could have afforded for my car, but... mostly because of cruise control and going out and doing a lot of motorway miles and all the rest of it. But equally, 100%, I didn't want a shit-looking car. No. I don't want a shit-looking car. But, the biggest realisation you've had in the last week or so is that actually, I felt like when you got your initial promotion at work and you were on a solid salary, you were like, this is great, like, I'm the man, I made it, and all the rest of it. And then you realise, actually, this could all be taken away from me in an instant, which is much more... realistic. And now you're starting to think, fuck, this isn't enough. Like, you love your job, you want to keep it, you want to do well on it and all the rest of it, but if I don't have some other form of backup revenue stream, I am completely at the mercy of life.
100%. And I think, adding on top of that, what I also came to the realisation was I think it was great what I did, like what I've achieved at the age of 26, just turned, is, pretty good.
You're happy with it?
Yeah, man, I'm happy. And like what I've achieved in the climbing world and, setting, and the point in the business where I'm at is, I can't really go any higher because I can't take Dan's job and I can't take Jed's job. So, as the director of climbing and the CEO, I can't take either of those unless they do one. And I wouldn't anyway. So then I'm like, right, okay, well, this can't be it. Like I don't feel happy in my gut that I'm like, this is it now. This is just going to be me for the next 20 years, 40, 30 years, So I kind of went, right, okay, well, what's the next logical step? Well, I've gained the experience in terms of people skills, communication skills, management throughout this past couple years since I've had this role. Admin, organisation, all of that sort of stuff, how to lead a team. So now I think it's time that I take all of those things that I've learned and apply them to my own business, which is obviously, I've talked about it in previous episodes about my stuff, and we're obviously talking about other things as well, with regards to things we're thinking of doing. But so I essentially have come to that realization where I'm like, I don't really want to work for someone anymore. It works, and I think if that's what you want to do, if you just want to have an easy life and just get paid a salary and chill out and not really do much, that's fine. But that's not who I am or who you are, and who I would imagine a lot of people who listen to this podcast are. They want to improve and they want to learn and they want to be better. And I feel like the next step for me career-wise in terms of being a better, businessman is starting my own business and trying to make money down that road, And because it's that other thing of fear, isn't it? It's that unknown, and it's the shit, man. Once I let go of this, the problem, and you said it the other day, it's a salary trap, it's a safety net. It's like I'm on a good wage, I can afford this, I don't really care, I don't really worry about, my money coming out every month and kind of a bit slack on certain things. And you said it, like, the more money you get, especially in a salary, the more your personal admin drops, because you just go, I've got enough, it'll come out, doesn't matter. So that I need to get back on top of, because again, it could all go away like that, you never know. Probably won't, but there's always that risk. So then moving into my own business is like, right, I take that on solely. Like, I have to do this now, otherwise it's bust. It's now or bust. So, yeah, that's kind of what I wanted to go into, and I'm sort of trying to set myself up to a point now where I can now fully start that and go straight into that. So, selling the van, not having that to worry about, and not feeling like if that breaks down again, it's going to cost me God knows how much money. Whereas, and the other good thing about the Civic is because it's Japanese, and Japanese parts are very cheap. So that's the other reason. So if it does go wrong, it's a hell of a lot cheaper than trying to repair a German car. So that's part of it. So there's all like certain steps, and just like trying to minimize. Obviously, it's like anything, isn't it? It's trying to minimize the amount you're putting out and trying to maximize the amount that's coming in terms of your financial situation. So that's kind of where I'm at the moment, and yeah, just trying to build off that, and hopefully within the next few years, that's where I'd like to go down next.
Yeah, and you got to Robert Kiyosaki a little bit as well, because you just like the stuff that you've been spending money on in the last, say, 5 years. I can't actually think.
It's all consumer behaviour.
Yeah.
All totally agree. All consumer behaviour.
I can't think of a single thing you've purchased that's made you money. You went through a little phase of trying to justify to me, like, yeah, well, if you buy the right car, you can sell it for. It's like, all right, if you're lucky, you can sell it for like 200 quid more. But it's not.
So that is true, but it's not like what you're saying, which is like fully change your entire financials. Unless you're going to become a fucking car dealer, well, that's an entire business and job in and of itself. But like as a side thing, no, not at all. Not especially now that the car market as well is completely fucked. So. Yeah, no, you need a full side hustle, which is an entire business. And like you said the other day about how it's not really when you start to like break down your time and what you're spending time doing throughout the day. If you actually look at it, you look at how long you're scrolling through your phone, probably about most people multiple hours a day. And then you just go, okay, what can I actually do with those multiple hours? Okay, if I don't go to the gym, I can get an hour's gym session in. I can get a run in. I can get any form of physical workout in I can possibly want. I can also use that to spend time focusing on starting a business. I can start to think of ideas, drawing notes down and all sorts of stuff to try and, put what's in your brain onto paper so you're actually doing something. You can draw up plans, you can research things. There's so many things you can do. And from my perspective, I've now, since I've been back from holidays, like, right, up at 6, that's like my big thing. And that gives me, I'm even thinking about starting up at 5. So that gives me 1 to 2 hours before I even have to leave for work, where I'm like, okay, I can fucking get the start of a business going there. And like you said, even just that extra hour a day across a year, well, that's 365 hours you wouldn't have had before. Think what you could do in 365 hours.
Yeah, and it also starts you in the right mindset, because you wake up and the first thing you concentrate on is your new business.
Bang. Yeah, something you're psyched on, something you want to improve. It gets your brain thinking, gets your brain going. So yeah, for sure. And that leads me on to, obviously, I'm starting at like 5, 6 o'clock in the morning. You, my friend, you love your even earlier starts.
Oh, I love him.
You're like obsessed.
Yeah,
4
I'm a big
a.m.
fall guy.
Man.
I'm a big fall guy. I started doing it at uni. I did. I don't know why. I just it probably started like fucking needing to study for an exam or something, but. I think when I lived in a flat with like 5 other people, I knew that I could everything would be quiet at 4, sorry.
Yeah, nobody else is awake at that time.
Yeah, and if you stay up later, if I stayed up later, that also would guarantee quietness, but then you feel like you've fallen behind rather than getting ahead. And there is like definitely, there is an element of it that's like, I don't know how to explain it. When you get up at 4, you feel like you're getting ahead of everyone else, and that feels nice.
Yeah, I mean, there's not many other people in the world that get up at 4 a.m., is there?
It gives you a sense of confidence, yeah.
Sure.
Versus if I stayed up till 2, 3 in the morning, I don't feel like, I'm ahead of everyone. I feel like everyone else has already done their work, you dickhead, they're asleep. Now you're still doing this.
And you've said in the past as well that you feel like you work way better in the morning than in the evening anyway, so.
Tons.
Yeah.
Like, I just, between 4 and 5, I've tried all out, like, when you start doing 4 a.m. routines, inevitably you fuck it up for a bit. So when I start doing it again, because like it's not a very sociable time to get up. If I'm waking up at 4, I'm going to bed at 6, 7, which means like in the summer when friends want to hang out or there's like barbecues on or you have to work like a wedding and you're staying there till 9, 10 at night, like you're just not going to get up at 4 a.m. It's not possible to do it all year round.
It's not sustainable.
But when I can, I do. And so whenever I haven't done it for a while and I break back in, the first thing that happens is you fuck it up. You wake up maybe for the first day, you're really tired, you end up having a nap. The next day you wake up you're like, fuck, overslept at 6, whatever. But then actually what happens that you don't really expect is that it goes the other way. Like your body gets really confused. So then you'll wake up, it'll be like 1 a.m. and you'll be like, let's go! And then like there's just no going back to sleep. So you just come down and I always feel like if you can't sleep in the middle of the night, it always pisses me off. And people are like, oh, I woke up at 3 and I couldn't get back to sleep. I was trying and trying. It's like, why then? Like, if you couldn't sleep, why don't you just get up and do something? Like, and I guess the answer is, like, the reason you never got up early before is, well, my work doesn't start till 7. So there's not really anything I can do. So, well...
There is. It's just how much you want to do it.
Yeah, I mean, I get it. If you haven't already got a business idea or you're not in, or you don't want to launch your own business, you're happy to stay in your job, then obviously it doesn't make so much sense. But you could go out for a run or you could do
There's so many things you can do.
Just clean the house or something, like quietly, of course. If you've got a partner or something and you get up and start fucking hoovering, you're going to upset someone. Like
yeah.
But, you know, I don't know. I just feel like getting up, even if you just get up and, I don't know, you could do a lot of stuff. Like,
Even if it's just as simple as like reading a book until you fall back to sleep.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? Like, you can do something.
Like some kind of wisdom book or something. Yeah, just something that's better than just lying there like a turnip.
Yeah, trying to fall back to sleep.
It doesn't make any sense to me. But the opposite then happens. You wake up at 1 a.m, you're like, fuck's sake. And then you just get on with that for a while. And but the sweet spot I've found, having done all of those like different time frames. I mean, I've done it before where I would get up at 4 p.m. and work till 10 in the morning. Like I've done that whole nocturnal stuff when I was younger and all that. Absolutely zero fucking good for your mind. Like you can only do that so long before you just end up depressed or feeling depressed. You know, it's not good for you, I don't think.
Yeah, that seasonal depressive disorder is quite real.
Yeah, seasonal and just when you don't get sunlight, like you're supposed to have sunlight. Yeah. So if you're feeling sad and you're, staying up all night and sleeping all the way through the day, then maybe just fix that first. I guarantee the rest of it won't be quite so bad.
They say that about night shift workers, don't they? They're basically like night shift workers essentially cut literally years off their life because your body's not designed. Your human being's not designed to be up at that time.
Jet lag as well.
And jet lag,
in the, being a wedding videographer, like when you start wedding videography, everyone's like, oh man, I want to do high-end destination weddings. It's like, yeah, you do for 5 minutes and then you actually go and do 6 in a row. Yeah. And you realise you got to fly from here to Bahrain, to Spain, to Italy. You're on these long flights, you're carrying all your kit with you, you're on different time zones, and you're literally knocking years off your life. It's not all that it's cracked up to be. No. These businessmen that get to travel the world and, it's like actually really, really difficult.
Yeah.
Way harder than, to my mind, being on the bins, getting up at 5 in the morning. Yeah. It's just, I'd much rather do that than travel the world, or you'd have to pay me a lot more.
Yeah. It's an interesting one, the whole like early morning thing, because I mean, pretty much anyone you look at who is successful, anyone in the business world, anyone in the fitness world, whatever it is, they're all about getting up early. It's all about, like you say, getting up, getting ahead. And I think even just for me, like getting up at 6 or even, potentially starting to get up at like 5, that sort of mental thing of like, mental thing. I have been told I need to start pronouncing my THs rather than
do what you fucking want, mate. I don't care.
That's a good point. It's our podcast. Do what I want. Anyway, bit of off topic. So getting up at 5, if you do then have a job and you then go into work, having done all of the stuff you do in that morning, and it's going to sound weird because you don't want to sound like a dickhead and you don't want to go into work and start be like, well, I've been up at 5 and I've done this. Look at me. But it does give you that sense of like, that fucking, him over there, he's been sat in bed since fucking 6:30, 7:15. Then his alarm's gone off and he's done 10 minutes and now he's in work. Meanwhile, I've been up for an hour and a half. I've done X, Y, Z. I've made the next step into my next business, or I've gone for a run, or whatever it is. And that I feel like it just sets you up so much better.
It's definitely for you only. Like if you start, we were saying this the other day on our run, like as soon as you start talking about it, it's no longer cool. Like, nobody thinks you're cool for getting up at 4 a.m.
No.
Nobody that I've ever, if I went into like a group conversation with a group of people, go, yeah, I get up at 4 a.m. and I do this and do that. And you know, by the time you get up at 8, I've done 4 hours work. Everyone's like, you're a dickhead.
Yeah.
And rightfully so. It's just a dickhead thing to do.
Yeah.
It's completely a personal thing. And people don't want to get up at 4 a.m. They don't fucking have to. It's fine. I do. That's what I want to do.
Yeah. It's also, again, what works for you. Like, getting up at that time, you can be very productive and it works for you. Some people might be the opposite and they might feel like they actually work better in the evening. So therefore, like you say, they maybe stay in bed a bit longer in the morning and they have longer sleep, so they wake up at 9, but then they're awake till 1 a.m. or whatever. So then they get 8 hours there, you know. So it just depends on how you are personally.
What I will say, yes, you can say, oh, it's what works for you. But if you've never consistently tried getting up at 4 a.m, don't fucking say that it doesn't work for you. You have no idea what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Like, I've literally tried every single 8-hour sleeping window. I've tried sleeping on going 4 hours a night, never by choice, to be fair. Like, it's just been like how work's lined up. I've tried, like I said, staying up all night, staying up, you know, having normal time, you know, starting work at 9 to doing the 9 to 5 thing. I've done them all. I have tried everything across the last sort of 4 or 5 years I've been self-employed. For me, 4 a.m. is my thing. Doesn't have to be your thing, that's absolutely fine, but don't fucking sit there having never got up at 4 a.m. in your life and tell me that it doesn't work for you. Try it, because I think a lot of people who think it wouldn't be for them would. It would just make their life so much better. You don't have to tell anyone about it. You don't have to be cocky about it. You don't have to be like how I'm sounding right now. I can't seem to fucking do a podcast episode in a minute without fucking preaching.
That's 2 in a row. 2 in a row.
Help me, God. Help me be more humble.
2 in a row. He's like a pastor for the self-improvement life. It's basically what he's become.
But yeah, I genuinely think it would change a lot, especially if you're self-employed and you can work whatever hours you want.
Yeah, totally.
I think most people, I mean, I find myself doing it by accident. Like, I'm on a 4 a.m. routine now, and it happened completely by accident. I was just like, this is the other thing that always made me suspicious of you, because you would be like, oh, I work really hard in my job, and, you know, I get 3 days off, but that's because I worked, you know, really, really long days and all the rest of it, and it's like hard work and drilling, and it's true. It is true. And you're obviously in fucking great shape. So it's obviously correct to some degree.
Yeah.
But the thing that I always found suspicious is, I'm trying this CBD oil because I'm having trouble sleeping. It's like, well, hold on a minute. And I'm definitely guilty of this too. Like, we've both had days off or days when we've relaxed and we've come down, and, you know, I do it when you're gone, so you never see it. Yeah. But there's days where I'm on the PS5 all fucking day.
Yeah.
But like on your days off, you'd come down, and it seemed like you felt like your day off was your day off. And I feel like I'm glad that you finally kind of switched away from that.
But that's that trap. That's that salary trap again. It's the comfort trap and I've got my life sorted out, so therefore this is it now. Yeah. And it took me a while, and I think I was happy just to be like, yeah, that's right. But that doesn't last forever. Like, I think I'm that way inclined, where I think that the comfort is for me, but there's that thing in my head that's like, no, come on, like there's not comfort anymore. Come on, go on, do something. Let's go.
Well, you go back and forth, don't you? You start getting confidence, and you start thinking, yeah, I'm going to fucking do this, and then something happens, and you're like, oh fuck. Yeah. Actually, this job's all right, and I don't have to go through that pain. But ultimately, you know that the right thing to do is to continue going through the.
When you get kicked down, you get back up. Simple
again and again and again. Yeah. And it's going to happen. We haven't even begun getting kicked in the ass yet. No. Not even close. In fact, everyone we've met has been fairly supportive on this journey so far. That's not always going to be the case.
No.
When we get to a point where we actually start doing well, God willing.
There's going to be people
will start turning. Because they don't want you doing too good.
No, because then you're doing better than them, and then that's what they don't like. As soon as you do better than them, say goodbye.
Yikes. That's a big yikes.
What's up, winners? If you're loving this podcast, make sure to drop us a 5-star review on Spotify. And if you aren't already, be sure to follow us on our social media channels. That's YouTube, Instagram, and TikTok. 2 Beast Podcast, the number 2 Beast Podcast. Let's get back to the show.
Off we bloody go.
Off we bloody go. We're going again. We're back.
We're back now.
We're back from that break.
That's us back.
I don't know who would have done that advert, you or me.
Do we have any listeners from... probably me still, unless we've recorded new ones. I don't know.
Yeah, well, it'll either be a Maven Visuals one, or it'll be a We hope you like this podcast.
Follow the poddage.
Follow the poddage on the spot.
Yeah, you're getting good at it now, aren't you? You're fucking getting into it. You've done camera work before and stuff, but...
Yeah, I've had to do it for work and bits and pieces, so I'm used to it.
My mum actually was saying the other day about how much you've got like improved from just the episodes so far.
Oh, really? Oh, bless her.
Yeah.
Shout out to Chris's mum.
Yeah. So,
Most appreciated.
It's going to get better as well, isn't it? As time goes on.
Of course it is. Yeah, we're only, less than 10 hours at this point. Less than 10 hours in terms of poddage.
Nah, we've done more than that.
We've done more than that? How many have we done? 7 episodes?
This is our 10th filming session.
So this would be episode 10? No, episode 9. Is it episode 10?
Yeah, but fuck knows when it is.
So we have done effectively, with the guest episodes, which tend to be that half an hour extra. So over 10, It's not 10,000 though, is it?
No, it's not 10,000. We're getting there. That is the big theory. I saw it earlier. I think Luke talked about it as well. And
the 10,000 hours theory.
Yeah, well, I don't know if we talked about it last week or not. Hopefully we didn't, because otherwise, oh boy.
Yeah, we're just repeating stuff on this podcast.
But we do generally repeat stuff to each other, don't we? That's
we do a little bit, expanding on stuff.
But yeah, if you just put, I think we did mention it, so I'll keep it brief just in case. If you just put 100 hours into something, you'd be so much better off. Having a direction.
And like I've just said, even like if you think about a year and you do every single day an hour extra a day than on top of what you would normally do, that's 365 hours. Yeah. That's a lot of hours. You know what I mean? And think what you could do from 0 to 365 hours. It's madness.
And the thing is, you just fucking see what happens if you don't know.
Totally, yeah.
Better be more than you think.
Yeah, I bet it will. For sure. Full show.
You got a new... We've changed the office now. We
have changed the office.
I really love this. I love this new setup we've got. We
would love to show you and sort of turn the cameras around, but I think it'd be a bit more of a pain in the arse, really.
Poddage. I mean, we'll see if I can be fucked to add this in later, but...
Chris will take a video.
I'll video it now, right. This is us on the pod. There's Ollie, look.
Yeah.
There's the camera that points at me. It's a bit behind the scenes. This is going to be shit if you're a listener only, so I apologise for that.
You'll have to watch this bit on YouTube.
You can always watch it on YouTube. There's our light.
Oh, no, because you can watch it on Spotify as well.
Yeah, you can watch it on Spotify. 2B's podcast. We didn't put the sign on. That's a sad moment.
Bollocks.
There's Ollie's camera. It just sits on the table, look. There's our new whiteboard. We've got a new whiteboard. I'll put that on the main camera in a minute. But yeah, we've got this desk situation back here. There's Ollie's desk.
Chris actually did this desk change of his whilst I was away, and he thought I was going to absolutely hate it. And he was shocked to find out that I actually quite liked it.
I did not, because the thing is, my desk used to fit right up against the wall, which was lovely from a space perspective. We've put a lot of effort into this front room to make it look more spacious, because it's actually, you might be able to tell from the cameras, it's not the biggest house in the world.
It's quite small. But there was only 2 of us, so...
But there's only 2 of us. But still, like, having this sofa, turning it around, all the rest of it, and then I just was like, fuck that, I don't want to stare at the wall anymore. Flip the table around, just yanked it out into the middle of the front room. I thought he's going to be pissed, because he was on, you were away for 3 weeks, weren't you?
Yeah.
And I did other silly things, like I threw away the shower curtain, and I was like, this is my house
you
now.
had a bit of a full clean out whilst I was away.
But yeah, it turns out you actually really like it. And
I liked all of the changes, yeah.
Not only did you like it, you ended up getting your own little desk space.
Yeah, I added to it. So you would have just seen on that video, but in the back space behind where Chris's desk is, essentially I had a big like frame that I used to have all my climbing stuff on, and it was like a training fingerboardy thing, right? That went good few months ago now. And that corner, we've always thought, what in the fuck are we going to do with that corner?
Just been bags
and just chucking shit down, and we were like, no, we're enough of this now. We're organised people. We're men of personal admin and organisation.
I'm not, Father, a personal admin hand grenade.
No.
I refute this statement.
Robert. He's going to love that. So what we did on... whenever it was, last week, Tuesday, Monday.
Yeah, I don't know.
Tuesday,
Don't matter, does it?
Anyway.
Could be fucking any day you want.
Be any day.
Let's say Thursday.
Let's
just
say
fuck
whatever.
with them.
Yeah, whatever day. Anyway, we went to IKEA. We went to the big yellow and blue furniture place.
Nameless brand.
That
doesn't matter. IKEA.
That sells furniture, and we bought a desk that is not massive, but big enough that fits very nicely in that corner, and a nice chair. So we sat down, put it all together, as you do with those types of furniture. You have to build it yourself, which is quite fun.
You don't not build it.
No,
you don't buy it,
it's
just
always
fucking let it sit there in a box.
Yeah, it's always fun. They did that classic thing and fucking hid half the stuff of the chair inside the chair. good one, and then they don't tell you about it. So then, like I was, running around like a headless chicken, thinking I hadn't got me legs for the chair anywhere, so I was going to have to go back to IKEA and get it. Anyway, so we put it all together. And now I have a nice little office space in the back with little lights. It's all very nice. So now not only can Chris do some editing, I can also do some editing and do my, business stuff coming up and all that sort of thing. So we've actually got, like, in the corner of the room, sort of under the stairs, a little office space going, which is quite nice.
We're swaying him. We're bringing him over.
We're bringing him over to the dark side.
He's coming over. He's coming over to the entrepreneurial lifestyle.
I can't.
You've been using my laptop. Everything.
Hey, when you live with an entrepreneur, it just happens. You just get sucked into the lifestyle. And when you have another, in Johnny Chaplin who came on to talk to me about it.
Yeah, I think he inspired you a lot
That was
too.
massive. Yeah, listening to him and just listening to how not how easy it was in terms of like the work you have to put in, because it's fucking hard graft. Just how easy it was to be like, I'm just going to do this now. Like there's no trickery, there's no like weird formula or like it's only a certain person that can do it. No, pretty much anyone can do it. You just have to go through the right steps, and obviously talking to people like that and learning from those people is super, super useful. So, so that's where we're at. We've got a nice little office now, which is kind of cool.
It's a new era.
New era.
It's also
the podcast business era.
I think it's just getting the ball rolling as well. Like, we decided to do the podcast, and even though the podcast itself is obviously not going to monetize for a very, very long time.
Yeah, we even looked at YouTube and we're like, wow, we are quite a considerable way off from that at the moment.
Yeah, I mean, it'll be sooner than we think, but also it's not going to be anytime soon.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
I'm thinking we're not going to be able to monetize this for 10 years. It might be more like a year. It might be more like, how much do you need to feasibly pay for 2 salaries and all that? Like, that's wild. I don't think most people think that they're ever going to get to that stage. I think we're being kind of like dodgy by even suspecting that might be a possibility.
Yeah.
But the main thing was we actually just started doing something. And then that sparked the idea of, well, I'm going to finally get this climbing coaching thing off. And then now you've got the office space. And now slowly but surely things are getting easier and easier, because like I said to you, now that we both, like, it's so much better having you working there, like when you're on your days off and you're working there as well. I wouldn't have been sat on there this morning if you weren't here. I would have been on fucking Elden Ring for sure. Yeah. Like, when you weren't up, and I got up at 4 this morning, I was like, Elden Ring time, baby. Yeah. And then as soon as I hear you stirring, I'm like, I don't want him to come downstairs and see me on fucking Elden Ring. It's just embarrassing. Yeah. So like, quick, shut it off, and then you heard the TV go off anyway because it makes a stupid sound.
But, it does. Yeah. Obnoxious noise.
But then now it's like 4 or 5 hours work worth later that just wouldn't have happened anyway.
Yeah. I think that's also the beauty of living with someone that is, and I can't stress this enough, if you're going to live with someone, for fuck's sake, make it so that you have the same interests and the same mindset. Yeah. And ideally that is a healthy mindset, because it basically it essentially doubles whatever you have another person that is going to instantly feed you motivation and somebody to work off. Because if you see there, like if I come down and Chris is sat there behind his desk doing his work, I'm like, I've got to do something now, otherwise I feel like a lazy twat.
Well, especially now we're working on the same thing. Like now we're both in on the pod.
Yeah, totally.
Like if you were sat there doing all the stuff and I was pissing about on Elden Ring, I'd feel guilty.
Yeah.
It would be hard. Like I just know that I'd be.
And that's
mug.
kind of the other thing. Like, I don't play video games much anymore, but I still watch a bit of TV and all that sort of thing. And me sat there doing that. I even did it the other day, I think. Sat there doing that whilst you're doing that. I always sit there and go, why can't I do something? Again, that's what the whole change in mindset for me was. It was just like, this can't be it. I cannot just be sat here. I refuse to believe that this is all I'm, put here on this planet to do. So.
I often think that about UFC. I like watching UFC, but I fucking, when you're not actually watching it, like when I'm back there working and I've heard it in the background when you've been watching it, I'm like, it's such a trap. It's like, it's all marketing and sucking you in, and look, these guys have massive banter, and they've been, who's gonna win? It's like,
especially the American form of television where it's like fucking ad breaks every 2 seconds, and it's just constantly feeding you stuff.
I think they're pushing they're pushing more and more advertisements. See how much we can tolerate.
Yeah.
And I think it's getting easier now to just take a step back. If you just take a step back for a minute and go, what the fuck is this?
Yeah.
Like this is they're drip feeding us nonsense.
Yeah, if you actually take a step back and look at it from like a third person perspective,
Yeah.
and you just sort of, take it for what it is. It's mad.
There is a serious amount of control just by entertainment and comfort.
Yeah.
And what happens when you do what we've been trying to work on the last couple of years, which is actually avoiding comfort like the plague, and trying to put ourselves in stressful situations because we've kind of clocked onto the fact that there's some kind of reward system there when we actually push ourselves to do something horrible.
100%.
It makes us feel good.
Yeah, and also anything you ever go for that is difficult is way more satisfying when you get it than if you just hand it to it. That's like a life hack, life fact. So,
well, it's kind of like when you, I don't know, if you just ate broccoli forever, you would slowly starve to death.
Yeah, you would. Yeah,
I think the same thing's happening with comfort and entertainment. It's like we're using things that aren't intrinsically going to entertain us, but it just perceives. There's just that perception that it's going to entertain us, so that we think, oh look, all my endorphins are going off, all my dopamine's going off. This is great, but actually we're slowly starving to death, and then people are wondering why they've got suddenly like they're more depressed than they used to be, and that camera's gone.
Bollocks.
Bollocks and ass. Don't worry, this is why we've got standby batteries.
We're on it.
Hold on, this is a live fix. This is what happens behind the scenes.
Yeah.
When it all goes pear-shaped.
Yeah, this will just be cut.
Yeah, don't worry.
You won't
Just ignore
see
the Todger shot there. Yeah. Beautiful. Right, we're back in.
Yeah, and we actually talked about it on the podcast of Esther, which is that people are just not staying fit anymore. They're becoming much more sedentary because it is so easy. Yeah. You have a salaried job, which we've just talked about the fact that how easy it is. Even I can be, deceived by the fact that it's just, all right, cool. I'm on an easy wage. I can sit here and do nothing on my days off and chill out and not have to do anything. And it's just becoming far too easy for people to do that. And I think if you do not put yourself in stressful situations, like forced stress, you ain't going to learn. You ain't going to grow. You're not going to improve. You're just going to stay who you are and stay that person. And hey, if that's what you want to do, if that's what you want to do with your life, that's totally fine. I don't really care. But for me, I just can't live like that.
We've got a mantra in this house, by the way. We're going to be the first to support you if you want to be unhealthy. If that's what you want to do, we have a mantra in this house is, I'll do what I want. And you too should do what you want. If that is what you want to do,
crack on.
Fine. Yeah. I'm not just going to try and sit here and preach, oh, you should be like us because we're so great. Like 26, 27 years of age, we know fuck all.
Oh, totally.
Let me make that very clear.
Yeah.
But so far on my 26, 27-year-old journey, I have found that the things that fill me with joy are actually counterintuitively the things that suck the most.
Yeah.
Like my favourite memories are the times when I wanted to cry.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because I was actually, not because, I've been fortunate in the sense that things haven't happened to me. Like trauma and all that kind of business.
Yeah.
I've had a pretty stable, beginning. But then willingly going towards pain and actually, seeing what this is all about then. What happens if I do this what happens if I try and run 48 miles in 48 hours with no training? Oh, I end up in hospital. Right. Okay, cool. Well, it was fun. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. It's way more fun than platinum in Fallout 4.
Yeah, but like you've just said back then, earlier, the stuff like that, the PlayStation stuff, the TV, social media, phones, like whatever it is, it's just a distraction. Like it's literally there. And because we have this primal, and I don't pretend to know, I'm not a scientist, I'm not a neuroscientist, but I've watched a fair amount of Andrew Huberman. So that means I'm basically a neuroscientist.
He's qualified.
Essentially, what he's saying is that like you said, the dopamine reward system in our brain. When we were cavemen back in the times, what would set off that reward system would be struggle.
Yeah,
and the reward that we get for struggle, i.e., finding food, finding shelter, all of that sort of stuff, the real core basic things that we need as human beings, that's what gave us a dopamine kick. That's all we needed. Whereas now, because all of those basic things are fulfilled, we don't even have to think about it, it's just there, we need things to replace those. And what a lot of people don't want to do is rather than replacing them with other things that are hard or struggle or difficult, they have figured out that they can do things that are easy, but that still reward you for things, which is just setting off that dopamine system again. So, i.e. the PlayStation, i.e. the TV, watching whatever it is, that sets off your dopamine reward system, but you're not putting yourself through struggle. So then naturally, because human beings want things easy, that's why we've gone from the hardest of times to the easiest of times now. That's just what we do. It's what we're attracted to. We're like, what's the easiest possible, efficient way I can get said fix? Right, bang.
Scrolling on your phone is exactly the same as being an alcoholic. The only difference is society's perception of it.
Yeah.
You know that when...
It's an addiction.
I think Russell Brand said stuff like this. He's like, the easy part about being a drug addict is that you know that it's illegal. You know that it's wrong.
Yeah.
Whereas like, when he was talking about sex addiction, he's like, that's societally a thing. Like, there's porn everywhere. There's fucking, the whole goal of... men are always told they should be going out, shagging as many people as possible, casual relationships. Everyone's more promiscuous these days. It's all empowerment and all the rest of it. It's like, so it's really hard to then, when you're an addict, it's really hard to say, oh, no, I shouldn't be like this.
Yeah.
But to society's mind,
it's totally
you're
fine.
empowered now,
Yeah.
and you're being this super successful guy that just, gets all these different women. Mm-hmm. And I think phone scrolling's the same thing. We've just been taught that, we're in the social media age now. It's the digital age. We're all about, you can make so much money on the internet. And it's true, but equally,
you need to learn how to limit yourself.
It's still an addiction.
It's like anything, yeah. And you need to learn how to limit yourself, because otherwise it just takes over your life and then you're screwed. The more you put yourself into it, the harder it is to get out of it. So
this is a question for viewers. This is a genuine question, and we'll cut this into a short, and hopefully this will be a great short. What is the difference, truly, what is the difference between drinking a whole bottle of vodka every night and scrolling for 2 hours on TikTok and Instagram every night? What's the difference? That's my question. That's a talking point there for the world. What do you think?
Nothing.
Yeah, me too.
There is no difference. I mean, the difference is in, I guess the only thing you could say is like, maybe some of the things you come across on TikTok are kind of useful, but that only goes so far, because that totally depends on the algorithm that you've set up yourself and what you actually watch. So for us, it's a lot of stuff like self-improvement and fitness and finance and all that sort of stuff, right? So, but that's only because that's what we've chosen to show through our Instagram or TikTok or whatever it is. Whereas the majority of people, that isn't that. It's people fucking dancing. It's people just doing stupid stunts and videos and all that crap, But like you say, there is no difference. There's literally no difference, All you're doing is sat there doing one thing that is neither improving you or making you better. Or changing something drastic about your life that you need to change. It's not doing anything. It's not improving you in the slightest.
Equally, of course, can you have, one glass of wine every Sunday? Of course. Not going to kill you, is it?
No.
So it's like everything in moderation again, isn't it? But I don't think that we're anywhere close to moderation at the minute.
No, especially not with these things.
You can't fucking go out with 4 or 5 people to a dinner and one of them not be on their phone the entire time. You just can't do it.
Yeah.
And they convince themselves that they need to reply to that message.
Yeah. What's even more mad, actually, is if you look around, even like a lot of older people now are on their phones a lot, which is mad, because you kind of think, okay, young people, I kind of understand, they've grown up with it. But people like our parents, who, 50, 60-year-old, haven't grown up with it. But now, because they've lived with it for so long, they're like, I notice it with my mum and my dad. Even my mum and dad are on their phone a lot, And it's like, again, kind of depends upon what you're on your phone for. That's always my kind of advocate, my caveat is, what are you on your phone for? Are you on your phone because you're starting a business and you're making calls, you're talking to suppliers, you're ordering things, you're talking to your employees, whatever it is? Or are you sat on your phone scrolling through TikTok, scrolling through Instagram, buying shoes, buying video games?
Are you consuming or are you producing? That's the classic line, isn't it? That's the Hormozy line.
Yeah, producing or consuming, or creating or consuming.
Yeah.
That's your two, Which one are you doing? Mm-hmm. Majority of people are consuming, You at home are consuming our podcast.
One thing, this is a good little hack, I think, for people if they don't already do this, because I've started doing this and it's completely changed the way, like when I am wasting time scrolling through social media, it has definitely increased the amount of useful content I get versus bullshit pish.
Yeah.
And that is actually, like, Facebook and TikTok, and they want you to have a good experience. They want you to spend time on their app. You can actually use that to your advantage. If you actually, when you see a post that you don't like I said this to the people that left like hate comments on us before. If you see our podcast clips and you think they're shite, you can actually just say, don't recommend this to me.
Yeah.
Or see less like this, or whatever. You don't have to report it. You don't have to like be a dickhead.
Yeah.
But you can just say, see less of this. It asks you for a reason why. You say, I'm not interested, or it's not relevant, or it's too personal, or whatever the case may be. You don't see that content anymore. Like I went through, I know you did it recently as well, but a couple of years ago I went through and I just unfollowed bullshit pages.
Oh mate, I've gone from like nearly 600 people I followed down to like 280 or something, which I know is still quite a lot, but the majority of those 280 are like positive things that I want to follow, and positive people.
Do you remember when we were kids in school and stuff, and like you'd follow these random pages that were like,
like meme pages and
Justin Bieber's balls dropped or something like that. That was a page that I was on, like some weird page. That was the trend at those days, was just to create like relatable names that kids would get sucked into.
Yeah, and I actually went back through my Facebook a while ago and I found all of that sort of stuff, and you're
still liking those pages.
Yeah, totally. Yeah.
Kim Possible. Yeah, that was one random page. Fuck knows when I followed it. Like I was obviously 12 or whatever. Yeah. And I was following this page that still occasionally like shit posted a meme. And it was still showing up on my feed. And when I was going through it, I was like, I've been, God knows how much nonsense has entered my day because of this one source that has just gone unchecked. It's a bit like I was saying to you when you like actually look at your bank account and you realise that you're paying for like 3 subscriptions that you don't need anymore and you can't. It's the same thing with your social media feed. Like spend, 6 hours. Just cull through, unlike all the pages that you've liked. And for fuck's sake, also, if there's a lot of pages there that you got to unlike, and you're like, oh man, that's going to take too long, stop liking more, at least. What are you doing? What are you liking these pages for?
Yeah, chill out, cancel more, like unfollow some, and then go back and like more that you actually want to like now, you know?
And then follow more pages, like the Two Beast podcast, that are actually trying to help you.
The most important
help us. We're all trying to get better together. And we'll actually win at life. How about that? Should we ever go at that? Should we ever go winning at life?
Big statement made here. Win at life.
Right, you had a big announcement.
Oh yeah, I did.
What's this announcement?
Okay, so let's take you back to the Johnny Chaplin episode.
Okay.
You and I actually literally just posted this reel this morning, right? Mm-hmm. What is a book that you have recommended to me, and also one that you talked about on that podcast?
It's I know exactly what one it is. It's Ryan Daniel Moran. 12 Months to a Million.
Okay,
fantastic book, by the way.
Would you like to know who I've just got a DM from on Instagram?
Is it Ryan Daniel Moran?
It is Ryan Daniel Moran. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Is it his real account?
Well, we're about to find out.
Because he has a lot of fake accounts. I'm worried.
Do you know what? I actually thought it was on the 2B, but it's not. It's on my personal Instagram.
This is worrying. This is a fake account. This is too good to be true.
Would you like to see that Instagram account? And would you also like to click on it and you will see the verification badge on that account?
Fucking hell, yes, man! This made me smile, thank you. Woo!
Mate, I thought you'd like that.
My fucking pleasure, sir. My pleasure. I have recommended your book. Not only have I listened to it myself, I recommended your book to my dad, to Ollie, to fucking everybody that's entrepreneurial.
Quality book, by the way.
I love the book. And,
I'm about to start reading it again.
Mate, this made me smile, so thank you very, very much. One day, sir, we're not there now, but one day our podcast is going to be respectable enough, and I want you on it, sir. We are working towards that. Thank you very much. That has made my day. Thank you very much. That's fucking brilliant.
There you go.
Fucking outstanding.
So, Mr. Moran, thank you very much.
Mr. Moran.
I thought, actually, it was funny. I thought that was on our 2B, on the 2B one, but it's not. It's on my personal one.
That's sick, though. That's great.
But even so, I was literally, we were sat here doing this podcast, and the notification came through on my watch, and I was like, hold on a minute.
Right.
Ryan Daniel Moran.
That's so
When I met
sick.
him, I was like, oh, there he is. So that's pretty cool, man. That is pretty cool.
I knew he would, because he's always, like, just in some degree, because he's always preaching that, you know, you look after your people that support you and all that kind of stuff. And that's, you know, a lot of the stuff we've been saying about, as like, or that I've been suggesting that we do with our stuff has been stemming from the advice that he's given. I will send you that podcast that I mentioned to Johnny as well, the Road to 1 Million.
Oh, yeah.
It'll be especially useful for you now.
Yeah.
Literally, like I said on that podcast, it's if you want another podcast that's, you know, not quite as good as this one, of course.
Yeah.
It's called A Road to 1 Million, and it's literally like one-on-one coaching courses.
Nice.
Sweet.
Yeah. That's sick. I'll listen to that on the way up to the old, the Swansea town later on, I think. So...
All right, that's made my day.
Yeah.
What a good end. What a good end to the podcast.
What a great end to the pod.
Check out Ryan Daniel Moran.
Yeah.
You'll like him.
Yeah.
And he looks like my friend Ryan Walton.
Do you know, he looks nothing like I thought he would by his voice. Like the picture I had in my head when I was listening to his audiobook did not look nothing like him.
He literally looks like...
Actually, it was quite funny.
He literally looks like... it's funny that they got the same name as well. I don't know if I can get you this. Okay. I mean, have you seen Ryan Walton before?
No.
Okay. There's Ryan.
Yeah. Oh my God, he does.
There's Ryan Daniel Moran. Yeah.
Yeah, that's weird.
Literally the same.
That is very weird. Are we sure they're not the same, but they are the same person?
And they're both entrepreneurial. They're both, you know, it's so weird how similar they are.
That's mad.
Yeah. But, all right, well, listen, we have a few minutes left of this podcast time. Anything you'd like to say?
Anything I'd like to say? I mean, that red light's flashing.
Yeah, that's because it's low battery, but we're good.
Noted. Anyway, we'll carry on. No, mostly just that and I literally just had it then as a bit of a thought, right? The amount of information that is out in the world now, especially to do with like the stuff that, you know, this podcast is about, self-improvement, fitness, all that sort of thing. I feel like because of all of the information that's out there, whether it's Rogan, whether it's Chris Williamson, whether it's Andy Huberman, whoever it is, the fact that we are able to take that and now use that in our podcast is just like the biggest advantage ever. Like, and I don't think we could have done it had those people not have obviously started. I'm so blessed to have that ability to be able to learn all of these things, use them, apply them, find out what works for me, what doesn't, and then
shout out to the OGs.
On. Yeah, man. Shout out to the OGs, because without them, we wouldn't be here doing this, you know.
Respect to the OGs.
And I'm super psyched to see where these next, you know, few years go, basically.
And I suppose I'm riding the high of the Ryan Daniel Moran.
Yeah, we are. But it's a bit more of a motivational podcast this now.
But while I'm there, I will just say, as a closing note to this podcast, I'm having a fucking whale of a time doing this podcast, and even though, you know, it's slow going, it's going to be slow for ages, might not ever make money out of it, I don't care. I would do this for the rest of time. I fucking love this. And it's the first thing that I've done in a long, long time where I'm like, yes.
Feels right.
Everything about this feels right. There's
nothing
nothing
about
about
our run the other day, didn't we?
Yeah. I really do believe that this is going to be such an asset to us, even if we never make a penny off it. I think the people we get to meet, the conversations we get to have, the conversations we have with Johnny and Esther, and the ones that we're going to have coming up that you may already have seen before us here, it's just going to be fucking sweet.
Yeah.
So thank you for supporting this podcast, listening to this podcast. We really, really appreciate it, and we're going to do better for you. We're going to do better. All right.
There we go.
What an emotional end to this episode of the Two Beast Podcast.
Blessed.
We'll see you next time. Bye for now. Thank you for listening to the Two Beast Podcast. Please remember to like, subscribe, and share this podcast on whatever your preferred platform is. We'll see you next time. All the best.